hope you all enjoyed that little bit at the beginning there. We're back with another video, Original Blood Ice here, that is, and it's time to talk about Sony. Oops, almost dropped my gamepad on the floor. As the story reads here, Sony is closing every Sony store in Canada. Now, apparently, there's only 14, and I've never once even seen a single one, so I didn't even know they existed. But, first of all, actually, before we get into this, I should just say, personally for me, hooray, because everyone knows I hate Sony. And then second of all, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, to the people who right off the bat are going to say, Sony's fine, they're perfectly fine, they're healthy, they're not going bankrupt, blah, 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 blah. There's the door. Leave. This room is too small to fit all the amount of stupid people that still think Sony is doing just fine. And it was just the other day, wasn't I, or that I did a video talking about Target closing all of their stores in Canada, and now Sony is closing all of their stores in Canada. And I think it's pretty safe to say that it's not quite the same situation as with Target, but it goes without saying that Canadians, we know what we want. We're going to buy stuff from places that make sense. And Sony, one of the reasons you've been getting your ass kicked is a lot of the time these past few years, especially with like TVs and stuff, is you charge the same amount of money as you always have for TVs and such when your competitors are charging half the price for the same fucking technology. So that's why you're stupid. But anyway, the point is, if you're a company that is planning to come to Canada, make sure you don't try and screw us over, because Canadians aren't fucking stupid. Anyway, let's get into the story, shall we? Sony Corp will close all 14 of its Sony stores across Canada as the company continues to struggle to reshape its business. That's right, it continues to struggle. How many times have I clarified that to people? So many Sony drones are, oh, Sony's fine, Nintendo's going third party, blah, blah, blah. No. And I don't want to turn this video into a whole console war thing. I'm just trying to once again reinforce the damn truth that Sony is not in good condition. People say Sony's fine. No, Sony's not fine. And people are like, oh, what about the 18 million PS4s that sold? Those are the only thing that made any profit for Sony these days. Those PS4 consoles. Not the games, the consoles. And Sony, much unlike Nintendo, I've said this all before, they are not just a gaming company. If Sony literally shrunk themselves to only doing the PlayStation, if that's all they ever fucking did, then maybe they'd be okay, they'd be fine. But anyway, let's continue. The company made the announcement on Thursday in a memo to the employees of its stores, including its Ottawa location, which is the capital of Canada, you would know if, well, you might know, in the Bay Shore Shopping Centre, telling them that the stores will cease operations within the next 2 months. So, yeah, literally by the end of March, we will not have a Sony store in Canada. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Not gonna miss you, Sony. I'll dance on your grave and I'll do a jig and, you know, be happy. Anyway, the company confirmed the news in a statement released to the Citizen. Over the next 6 to 8 weeks, we are closing our Sony stores in Canada, and we will redirect all of our business, or all of this business, through our national networks of Sony retailers, our online store, as well as through our Sony-trained telesales team. Read the statement. Our network of Sony authorized retailers offer a full range of Sony products and will be supported by our in-store merchandisers and product trainees on an ongoing basis in order to ensure that our past customers have continued access to knowledgeable sales consultants who can support their ongoing Sony electronic needs. There's not a lot of Canadians, some buy still Sony products, but in comparison to like the States or Japan, not many of us buy Sony products. Like I've said myself personally, the PS4 is literally the only Sony product I've ever bought in my life. Period. The company's news came on the same day that Target announced it would be shutting all of its retail stores in Canada. I already talked about that. Sony did not say how many jobs are affected by this decision. Well, obviously a lot. And it was just in the past few years that they had fired, first they fired 10,000 employees, and then they fired another 5,000, so that was like 15,000 in like 2 years. That's the one thing, again, I've said this before, that's good about at least Nintendo, is they pretty much refuse to fire anyone. Anyway, the closure comes as Sony is struggling to reshape its business amidst years of losses. That's right, years of losses. Who else said that? Who? Me. That's right, me, like always. So, for the current fiscal year, which ends in March, which is, by the end of March, that's when our stores will be gone, the company is estimating a 1.9 billion US loss. Now, just to clarify, to put into perspective for you how much that is, you might think, oh, 1.9 billion for Sony, that's not that much. Let me clarify something to you. When Sony sold their North American headquarters, their United States headquarters, because they no longer own their own headquarters here in the States. Hell, they don't even own one in Japan. They sold their one in the USA for 1.1 billion to pay off debt. They sold their one in Japan for like 1.2 billion or 1.4 billion, somewhere around there, to pay off debt. Still wasn't enough. And now they're losing even more than what their companies individually were worth. It's ridiculous. That's almost the amount, that's only like 600,000 roughly, short of being how much they sold both of their headquarters for. I don't know if Sony has a European headquarters still, to be honest. But that doesn't seem like a lot, you think? Well, in comparison to how they're already in debt and they've been paying less than, or, almost all of that just to pay off debt before, which wasn't enough, it just shows you, yeah, Sony's not in a good position. So within the last year, the company sold its Vio personal computing business and spun out its TV manufacturing operations. It is now reported to be considering exiting the TV business entirely. That's what I've been fucking telling you to do, Sony. The only way you're going to survive, or give yourself the best chance at survival, is to pull a Nintendo, and, people always saying Nintendo should just give up everything and go third party. No, Sony should go everything and just become PlayStation brand. Nothing else. Unfortunately, a lot of people will be fired, but still. The company is also considering options for its lackluster cellular phone division. No shit, because Sony phones are crap. I hate to say it, but even stupid iPhones are better. Anyway, where's my phone? My phone's a LG, Samsung, something or other. Anyway, point is, Sony, you're in so many divisions that don't make you any money that you're literally just losing money. But unlike Microsoft, first time I've mentioned them in this video, Microsoft basically has infinite money. So they can afford to lose money all over the place. It's kind of a weird paradox there, but Sony, you don't have that luxury. You lost money for like 10 years. And then there's the whole thing where the Sony president before had said that when he was asked about a PS5, that he's pretty confident, I forget his exact words, but it was something along the lines of, there won't be an actual console for the PS5 if they do it. It will be a streaming service. Basically, the PS5 will be all digital games streamed to your TV, or whatever, through like a TV channel or something like that. While that would save them some money, at the same time, I'm not sure how that would exactly work, because there'd have to be some kind of memory, because a TV doesn't have memory on it. You can't save your games to your TV. Anyway, my point is, Sony, you're not looking good. And there's going to be the Sony drones who are like, oh, you're a Nintendo fanboy, and Sony's fine. Let them be in denial. Just let them be completely in the dark and not know what the fuck is going on. So, it's a bit sad to see, or for the, the employees who will be fired from all the other divisions. But, yeah, I don't even need to go on and on anymore. The point is, Sony, you're hurting. You're hurting real bad. And again, just to clarify, personally, in my opinion, even though I'm not like, oh, I'm not a businessman, I'm not, a stockbroker in Sony, I'm not, oh, I know what's best for business, there's a WWE reference there. In my opinion, simply stay with just the PlayStation. Nothing else. No phones, no TVs, not even Sony Pictures. Just do PlayStation. Anyway, I'm Original Blood Ace, as always, so you know the deal. We'll see you next video. Stay tuned, more videos coming soon, as always, and we'll see you then.